I think every car has to contribute to continuous progress and continuous development, also for a company. So it's not something that is fixed anymore. You know, like a product is not the only statement. It's going to evolve, and it's not evolving through facelifts anymore. It's a continuous facelift. Like every person has exposure every day to new experiences, and a car will have that too. It will experience something. A car to me is about freedom, about self-determination. It's about beauty. It's about relationship. I went straight from school to BMW, straight after studying. And I did my master's degree as well at BMW. And then I was, you know, like they took me on. And, but, you know, like I think the journey always starts much earlier for a designer. So as a designer, you're always rooted somewhere, right? Like your creativity is rooted somewhere. And I think my creativity was rooted in my childhood very, very strongly. We were living on a farm a big part of the year, and you know, we were always exploring, always experimenting, always dirty. And my parents always had to find us at the end of the day and get us back in. But it was a very, very close to nature kind of experience in childhood. So I think that really opens up your mind and connects you in a different way to the world. My dad is an aerodynamicist. There has always been a lot of love for cars in my family. And we were always close to cars, you know, like bringing a new car home and, you know, celebrating, you know, new technology. And he was always excited about innovation. And I think that is what he brought home from work, you know, and that's what we experienced all the time. It started maybe at high school level. I think car design wasn't necessarily on my radar back then because, you know, who knows about car design? There was definitely like I remember an open day where we could look behind the scenes of design. And they had little flyers about Designworks. And, you know, like all the work, the sketches, the creative exploration, like everything that was really interesting to me, you know, like really going down this innovative perspective on design, you know, not necessarily styling, but definitely exploring and, you know, unfolding a future kind of design. A product where people are sitting in, you know, where you have to collaborate with the product continuously. I think you barely have that with any other product, so I found that really attractive. We always say we are the eyes and the ears of BMW. So Designworks has 3 studios, one in Europe, one in China, and one in the US. They are our main markets. And what we see, we have to be very connected to a global perspective, you know. When you're designing for the world, and most of our cars are for the world, you have to have a good sense of, you know, where are cultures developing, how do customers perceive something, and what do they expect from products in the future. We are doing trend research, we are closely observing the market, we are bringing market perspectives to Munich, and then we are also bringing out things from other industries. You know, like Designworks is partly working as a BMW advanced design studio, but we are also working as an agency with a strong third-party customer base. I think design is always innovation. As soon as you are sitting in front of a white sheet of paper, you start innovating. Design work is not simple. You have to go down a path, you have to understand a customer, you have to understand the world. Like you want to bring mobility to a new place. So like as soon as you sit down with that kind of knowledge in front of a white sheet of paper, I think you're innovating. Every innovation starts with a common mindset, and a common, like, how do we find innovation? How do we find a compromise? How do we, like, where do we want to jump? I think that kind of culture, and I think every innovation and every leap forward starts with having a good culture. I think that's the first thing that you need to establish, and there was definitely a common sense on that for BMW. I think it was 2019, really thinking about where do we want to take this new generation, this new era of cars. You have to start with the customer, and you have to understand that culture is changing, society is changing. Like we have new restrictions, we have new kinds of goals that we want to take individual mobility to. And you have to observe that quite closely. And at some point you notice we have to actually change substantially in the way that we are designing. And it is a big push to do a transformation, like an internal holistic transformation from a place of strength. We weren't struggling at BMW at all. So to still sit down and say, we need to take a minute and observe, are we future-proof or do we need to act now? And to, from a position of strength, decide, no, we need to act because we want to. I think that is really something that takes a lot of conviction, really good leadership. And Neue Klasse is doing that from the day it was born. I think that really relates to what we are doing now, like coming together again as a company and really defining where do we want to take the brand in the future, what do we want to stand for. And I think in the 60s we were definitely struggling, like as a company we were struggling, but we did manage by taking risks and innovating to leap forward, and really succeed through innovation and through having the perfect package of design, of sales, of manufacturing. Everyone worked together to do that leap forward from a company kind of perspective. And what we decided that we want to really stand for is a new era of electrification, digitization, and circularity. So like all of these three pillars that we built Neue Klasse on are something that we had a consensus on very early on in developing these cars. Neue Klasse is basically reinventing our portfolio and getting future-proof on these three pillars. There's definitely a wide customer base that wants to go that route for a new kind of mobility that is in the end going to a zero footprint mobility. So we did observe that, and we have started that very early on with our I products, and slowly taking the leap forward into a fully electrified portfolio. But for BMW, that has been a journey for the last 10 years. So it wasn't like, okay, from now on we are doing just electric cars. I think what we are pursuing is right now the power of choice. So, people that are living in rural areas or that don't have access to a good infrastructure yet, they can still have a combustion engine. The functional basis of a car still has to be really, really good, and the quality has to be really good in every detail. You can't just put a car on the road that doesn't look good, or that doesn't fulfill the basic quality needs for a premium segment. So there are different kinds of dimensions that you have to fulfill in order to really achieve the high goal of doing a luxury sedan or a luxury X vehicle. And everyone has to help here. It goes from a drivetrain that is really well laid out to a range that is acceptable for most people, and that is having fulfilling efficiency goals and range requirements and things like that. And then, of course, our customers want to have something that is aesthetically really, really, well done. So when we are designing the ultimate driving machine, it is, first of all, putting our customer in the center of attention. Understanding humans and how humans move, and how direct, an interaction between a product like a car and a human is. And we really took a long time defining what kind of role should digitality play. Is it really binary? Is it just on-off? Or very techy? Or do we expect digitality to take on the role of a companion? And I think it was very clear that, within our cars, we definitely want to have a companion, a companionship with digitality. And I think that's what we were trying to achieve developing this car, and, the idea of a companion, this very strong connection between driver and car. And that goes into every detail. So it goes, from when you approach the car, does it see you? You want to be seen. And a car can definitely do that, you approach it and you see, the lights lighting up. It can recognize you. And you approach a human, you can definitely see whether someone looks at you. So starting from there, going into the car, how does it greet you? How welcome do you feel? Does it embrace you? How does your seat feel? Like a BMW seat, if you are slipping into it, it tucks you in. If you're feeling the steering wheel, it really connects to you because it's so, it's so perfectly done. And it's all these little details that are compounding to the ultimate driving experience. And then it's all about orchestrating the right information at the right time in the right place for you to be the ultimate driver. So basically you're going from this ultimate driving machine and designing just a product to empowering your drivers to become the ultimate drivers. They are very warm spaces. They have a form language that is very clear, but definitely not sterile. And then you have these layers of light, like natural light. They have large glass windows. And then, of course, the content that you will see is going to be very intimate because it's very personal. We don't have a generic setup anymore. We have a very dedicated personal setup on the screens. So I think that, all adds up to something that feels very close to you. So it's not just about the car, it's about the car within an ecosystem. BMW is all about finding, through dialogue, a lot of dialogue, the best solution. And we looked at all kinds of different proportions, but at some point you have to put your foot down and say, no, we want to have not a 2.5 box, not a monovolume. We want to have a sedan. We are about sedans. So the sedan is going really back to this clear 3-box design with a strong emphasis on the wheels. It has a nice shoulder, but it's a very, clear sculpture. And what we are doing in the design process, what we did very early on is we just looked at the sculpture as like a white sculpture, right? Like no windows in it, no, no kidneys in it, just looking at the proportions. Side view, front view, rear view is at a BMW. And, like a lot of electric vehicles have a more monovolume kind of silhouette. And I think what we are seeing in the sedan now is, the classic BMW cues from a side view. So you have a emphasis on the rear wheel still. You have a, nice clear three-box design. And what you also have is a shark nose. There's a nice quote that says, perfection is when there's nothing else to take away. I think on the Vision Neue Klasse, you really see that, we extracted as much as possible. And then, of course, you can look at the iconography of BMW. So, the way we're laying out the kidneys for the sedan, the kidneys are wide, really enhancing the width of the car, the closeness to the road of the car. And then for the SUVs, you want to enhance the presence a bit more vertical. We call them SAVs, so sports activity vehicles. And then for those cars, we are looking at definitely pronouncing the wheels, but in a different kind of way. So you have more exposed or more emphasized wheel arches, and you have this more still very clean, but more robust kind of architecture. The sideline is quite far down, so there is a lot of light to play, in the upper half of the car. These cars are not the end product. They are the process that led there. And you do see that, especially with Neue Klasse, that it's a different kind of leadership and that it's a different kind of decision-making and a different kind of collaboration that is behind it. Otherwise, you don't ever get to a product that is defined by, this clarity that these cars carry, but also the love to detail and the precision that is, going to be in the driving experience. Neue Klasse for me is a new state of mind. It's a new kind of leadership, and it's an unburdened car that, still puts individual mobility into the center of attention, always with the customer in mind and our drivers in mind. So you should feel that you're, contributing to a better future driving these cars. And we do understand that that is a necessity in a complicated world like today, that you want to have simple answers, and a convenient product that also is, making life easier for you. Well, a car does definitely have a soul. Yeah, absolutely. And it has a character, and it is definitely a family member. And I think it will become even more so now that, digitality can take over and can express itself in that kind of way. It can give a car a voice, which is, again, very poetic, but I love to think of a car in a more poetic kind of way, because it can have that, and we can now bring that back, we can give it a voice, and we can, have that kind of dialogue, and it can become something that is really important. It doesn't just have to be your phone, that is really important and carry so much of yourself on it. Your car can become part of your journey as well.